Hello everyone, I'm Mark from My Catholic Library, the owner of this hand missal, which is what we'll be taking a look at in this episode. Would really quite like it if it wasn't falling apart anymore. As you can see, it's in a bit of a sorry state. But the best thing about this project is she's actually asked for an upgrade to the original. And I think this is the best thing about having me work on these books for you, is you are not stuck with what the publisher decided for you many decades ago. You're free to choose what you would like the end result to be. Fortunately, the text block is still solid. No loose pages or anything like that. So this is about making something that is worthy to participate in Holy Mass. Recolouring the pages, replacing frayed ribbons. Since I'm working on quite a few hand missals that are being recovered in leather at the moment, I've put them together in a playlist, and in each one will focus on a separate part of preparing leather and working with leather to recover books. So this one will be the last one where we take a look at the process of tooling, creating the decorative designs in the leather. The edges have been worn down with years of pious use, which is a good sign, so it's time for a refresh. This really is a simple matter of sanding the pages down to as white as possible, then applying a few layers of diluted acrylic ink. This gives a nice even coat and a lovely deep red finish, very traditional on liturgical books. Now on to the main event, decorating the leather. Step 1 is to make a template so the lines I'm tooling in will all stop at the same place and meet at a point. The meaning of that will all become obvious later on. It's always best to give brass tools a quick polish. A shiny tool gives a better impression, and then heat it until that lets me know it's hot enough. Now you can see what I meant by meeting at a point. You may have noticed that the previous two missals I did in this series had the same decoration, even though they're all different editions. Much like the false raised bands in the previous video, I think this decorative element is a holdover from medieval bookbinding technique. The hemp cords around which the pages were sewn, and which formed the bands on the spine, which we've now replaced with false raised bands, a purely decorative element, those cords were threaded down through holes in the front and back board to the inside of the cover. Once you've covered the thing in leather and sharpened up the definition of those cords, you end up with something that looks sort of like this. I think it just came to be what missals looked like in the imagination of the time, so even when the structure wasn't used anymore, the design element remained, and I'm very glad it did. While I finish off these lines, if you've enjoyed this video so far, do give it a thumbs up so more people can see my work. Thanks for your help. The last bit of this decoration is a fleur-de-lis. Another little hiss, a quick cool on a damp cloth, and it's good to go. The movement for gold tooling is a lot like the old Nintendo cheat code. Up, down, left, right, A, B star, but without the last bit. The finishing touch is a spine label with Daily Missal on it in gold. In the absence of machinery which can do this automatically, I make a template out of grey board to make sure that each line is spaced correctly and the word goes back in the same place each time. Previous entries were less bothered by wonky titles, I've seen plenty, but it would drive me nuts, so these are the lengths I have to go to. But I hope you'll agree that it's worth the effort. I make a blind impression first to flatten out the grain of the calf leather, which gives an even impression to the gold foil, and then a quicker impression on the foil. Hence the need for the template to make sure the brass letters slot back into the right place, because I can't see where I did it before because the gold is in the way. The moment of truth, and it looks really good. As you can see, setting brass type by hand is a laborious process, but again, it's worth it. The letters rarely go next to each other, but are typically separated by slivers of brass called spacers. The words become too bunched up and hard to read otherwise.
a quick trim to size, and a quick pair to thin out the edges so it blends into the spine and the label gets stuck between the raised bands. Once again, the adhesive is wheat starch paste, perfect for leather because it doesn't set instantly like PVA, so you've got time to adjust the label. I press it into the grooves I made earlier with a cold palette, that's the straight line tool I used earlier, so it blends in even more. And with that, the transformation is complete. I hope you'll agree, looking at these before and after images, that this is very much an improvement on the original, while still keeping that classic medieval style of decoration.
The thing that I'm most pleased with, though, is actually the spine label. I think you've got to look really closely at this to see that it is a spine label and isn't tooled directly onto the spine. But I will say there is the option for having a different coloured spine label, just to add a flash of colour if that's more your style. And again, this is the point of having a bookbinder do these sorts of things. You're not stuck with whatever it was the publisher decided decades ago. You can have this how you would like it. There is one more video in this series about the restoration of hand missals to do. That is going to take a look at gold tooling decoration on a book, so more than just a spine label. So make sure you subscribe and or follow this page depending on which channel you're watching this on, and until that next video, go in peace.